Sometimes, the scariest things in life are what you don't see. Despite how terrifying some video games can be, the human mind possesses a unique ability to conjure up entities far more horrific than what we actually have to face. Many games opt for aggressive, gratuitous methods of instilling fear, but sometimes, when it comes to horror, less is more. Home, a self-proclaimed unique horror adventure developed by Benjamin Rivers, seems to recognize this. It forgoes weapons for walking, enemies for exploration. Such ingredients sound compelling, but do these significant omissions leave this home feeling unfinished? Home begins with uncertainty, as our unnamed protagonist awakens in an unfamiliar house, with no idea why he's there and armed with only a flashlight. He's plagued with short-term memory loss, but not total amnesia, as he quickly begins to fixate on finding Rachel, his partner. This ambition leads him through a number of different environments as he attempts to return to his, well, home. Along the way, he encounters some disturbing sights that seem to indicate the sinister presence of someone or something in this small town. Memory loss is a tired trope of video games. It's often used by developers to avoid having to create a fleshed-out backstory for the player character. In Home, however, the brain fog serves a purpose. The story is narrated in the past tense by the protagonist, and at various points throughout the journey, because he's unable to remember so many important details, you're tasked with deciding what he did or saw. Oftentimes, this consists of simply deciding whether or not he should pick up an item found in the environment, but some of these choices impact the story in meaningful ways. Particularly toward the end of the game, you'll be given surprising autonomy in how the narrative ultimately plays out. The protagonist is a chatty one, commenting on many objects or features found in the various environments. While some level of investigation is required, you don't have to examine a lot of them, but it's worth doing if you want to learn more about the context of what could be happening. All of the game's exposition is displayed through text. There's no voice acting present. Screens of text appear often, especially if you're exploring thoroughly. Some may find this to detract from the game's pacing, but this isn't really an experience intended to move at a breakneck speed. Regardless, if you're not one who enjoys much reading in their horror, Home may not be the game for you. If the pacing of the game has you on the fence, it's very much worth noting that Home is short. Like, really short. Don't expect to spend more than 60 to 90 minutes on a single playthrough. The game even recommends trying to play it in a single sitting, which isn't too difficult given its brevity. Because of the branching nature of the narrative, multiple playthroughs can result in different outcomes, but don't expect completely different experiences. For the most part, no matter what your choices are, you'll be exploring the same environments. If you're watching this footage in anticipation of some terrifying creature jumping out from the shadows, don't hold your breath. This really is a more contemplative take on horror, with the protagonist exploring each area after the horrific events have already taken place. It's almost like another, more traditional horror game occurred earlier in the same setting, and now you're following behind to put all the pieces together. There are some occasional puzzles to solve that generally revolve around turning wheels or switching levers, and you will need to locate a few key items in order to progress, but for the most part, you'll encounter little resistance on your way to your goal. Don't expect to get lost either, as each level is self-contained and you are usually blocked off from going back to a previous area you've already completed. Home exhibits a unique retro style that lends a certain obscurity to everything you see. Is that a dead body or just some debris? Is that a lamp or some sort of very large condom? The pixelated art can make these questions difficult to answer, which actually tends to heighten the tension. Contributing even further to the retro feel are first-person transitions between rooms that are more than reminiscent of the original Resident Evil. Charming as they are, they can sometimes occur a little too frequently. Barring the final area of the game, Home features no music, opting to build atmosphere through various environmental sound effects. It's a bold choice that pays off, as I never felt like the game was missing a soundtrack. This is a subdued experience, and the lack of music further cements that. Home is ultimately a unique blend of creative decisions, from its 2D pixelated style to its placing partial storytelling onus on the player. To say it's fleeting is an understatement, but it's an experience that gets right to the point with virtually no fluff. Every moment brings you closer to finding the truth, but the closer you get, the more unbelievable the potential truth becomes. It's an unorthodox horror experience that's light on the survival. It most certainly won't be for everyone, but if you're looking for a tense, atmospheric way to spend a night, this home's worth a visit.